Alex was just an ordinary high school senior with a love for computers and a knack for digging into code. He spent his evenings in a dimly lit room, the only light coming from the cracked screen of his aging laptop, an old Asus from 2015, barely hanging on. One rainy Thursday evening, his teacher handed out a challenge in the informatics club. Hack this encrypted file. It's legal, it's ethical, and it's just for learning. First to crack, it gets a Raspberry Pi. Alex's eyes lit up. The file came on a USB stick, mystery.nc. He plugged it in. Nothing malicious, just a dense wall of gibberish. AES 256 encryption. Brutal. But as he examined the metadata, something odd stood out. The file had been created on a system with no recorded owner and no MAC address. That shouldn't be possible. Curiosity turned into obsession. He pulled open his command terminal, began digging through logs, hex data, and binary dumps. Then came the breakthrough, a subtle pattern in the noise. Every 64 bytes, the same 5 bytes repeated. A watermark? Hours passed. His coffee got cold. At 3:17 a.m., he finally traced the signature to a line of firmware backdoors known to exist in a very specific model of military-grade laptops. His fingers paused over the keyboard. This file hadn't just been encrypted, it had been hidden by someone who knew how to make it disappear. Suddenly, the screen flickered, and a new terminal opened by itself. Curious minds dig deep, too deep, and they hit bedrock. Alex froze. The message was followed by a download prompt. He hesitated, then declined. The laptop fan spun wildly for a few seconds, then everything went black. No BIOS, no boot menu, just a dead machine. The next day, at school, the USB stick was gone. No one else had cracked the file. No one else had even come close. But Alex knew the truth. He hadn't cracked the file. The file had cracked him. And from that day on, every time he booted up a new computer, he checked the ports. Twice. Just in case. Weeks passed and Alex tried to move on. He replaced the laptop's motherboard with spare parts scavenged from old machines, convinced himself it was just a freak software bug. But something had changed in him. He started noticing things. His school emails would sometimes show as read when he hadn't opened them. His phone battery drained abnormally fast, even on airplane mode. One night, while checking the router logs, he spotted an unfamiliar device, named Ghost Socket, pinging his network every 23 minutes and 17 seconds. The same timestamp when his laptop had died. He shut everything down, went offline, wiped his systems, even replaced his SIM card. But then the dreams started. They weren't dreams, really, more like flashes. Black command terminals, green text, a rhythmic tapping like a keyboard echoing in his head. And always the same phrase at the end, too deep. His schoolwork suffered. Friends stopped reaching out. Even his informatics teacher seemed colder, less interested, almost like he'd been warned to stay away. One night, unable to sleep, Alex walked to his school. The security lights flickered oddly as he entered the computer lab. It felt wrong. He powered on a random PC. There it was again, Mystery NC sitting on the desktop, untouched since the day of the challenge. Except this time, it opened instantly. No password prompt, just a terminal and a blinking cursor. He typed, "Who are you, silence?" Then, "I am what's left after curiosity eats itself." Alex slammed the lid shut, heart pounding, but the cursor burned into his retinas. That phrase, he knew he'd seen it before, in the margins of an old cyber warfare paper, half buried in an archived forum thread, and carved, eerily, on the inside of his laptop casing when he first opened it years ago. That laptop hadn't just been his. It had been watching long before he ever found it. Paranoia gripped him. He stopped going to school, taped over every webcam, disabled every microphone, even tore out the speakers from his devices. But the sound still came at night. The soft click of invisible keystrokes as if something, was typing just behind the walls. He started writing everything on paper, notes, thoughts, even this very story. But eventually, the ink started to smudge right before his eyes, forming the same string of characters. Ghost_socket is listening. One day, Alex simply vanished. His room was locked from the inside, laptop smashed, router burnt out, and every mirror turned to the wall. On his desk was a single sheet of paper, burned around the edges, but the message was clear. The deeper the socket, the darker the wire. No one ever found the original mystery.nc file again. But sometimes late at night, students who open too many random USB sticks or dig too deep into encrypted archives report a flicker, a whisper in their headphones, a blinking terminal that won't close, and a message. Curiosity doesn't kill the cat, it replaces it.